This is the Little Moments Count radio podcast, created in partnership with community radio stations throughout Minnesota. Each episode, you'll hear interviews with early childhood experts on how to support the important brain development that takes place in the first 1,000 days of life, just through little moments every day. Learn more at littlemomentscount.org/podcast.
It's a good day to be Indigenous. Get up,
get up. They are going to become more brutal.
Couldn't cut. He didn't cut again.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake.
Welcome to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Kadagi to all my friends and relatives in four directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake. And this episode of Native Roots Radio is presented in partnership with Little Moments Count. And so we have a special show here, Ogama.
We sure do. We have a wonderful special show set up here tonight with the people from Little Moments Count, but also with this new initiative that is coming through as part of the Little Moments Count campaign. Robert, why don't you tell everybody what the title of that is?
Well, let's just talk about a little more about the little intro here. And the Little Moments Count is a statewide collaborative focused on helping parents and caregivers learn about the importance of brain development in the first 3 years of life. Nearly 80% of brain growth happens in the first 1,000 days. A small moment of interaction like talking, playing, reading, and singing help create the pathways that build a child's brain during this early stage of life. For more information, you can visit littlemomentscount.org. And we're really excited to be partnering with Little Moments. And I'm really excited to have Beth come on here and introduce herself in a good way and talk and bring in our other guests. And I'll help facilitate this because you guys are the experts, and I think this is just really important. And when we've had Little Moments Count on, it's just been so informative about what you guys are doing and what about our little ones. So welcome, Beth.
Thank you. Bonjour, everyone. My name is Beth Ann Dodd. We want to thank Little Moments Count for bringing us on. I work for Barb Faber at Indigenous Visioning, and we are bringing to you today the Indigenous Parent Leadership Initiative currently being implemented in the White Earth Nation. And I have with me today Kris Manning, a facilitator.
Bonjour. Is that better?
We can hear you.
That's good.
And we also have Lacy Armstrong, who just finished the 21 weeks of the initiative. Lacy's a participant in the White Earth Nation.
Lacy, this is a radio show, so you have to say something. You can't wave, but most of the people don't know that you're waving in a good way. Just want to help facilitate that that we are all over Turtle Island here on the radio.
Bonjour, everyone. So honored to be here tonight.
Let's talk a little bit about what this is, what Little Moments Count is and why these special guests are here. I just want our audience to know. And I'm wondering, Beth, if you could talk a little bit about the program and what our guests do, including yourself.
So I'm the project coordinator, and I am coordinating a wonderful group of parent leaders in the White Earth community through the Indigenous Parent Leadership Initiative. We are coming to you to tell you about this beautiful 21-week program that integrates child development, leadership, democracy skills, and Ojibwe culture into a parent curriculum to empower the parent voice. So
Yeah.
we love to see parents, grandparents, foster parents, caregivers. We want them to participate in a nationally accredited and evidence-based parenting leadership curriculum that is culturally infused and customized to empower the tribal communities.
That's exciting. And I think just to back up a little bit too, we talk a lot about how important it is to talk to our children, to read to our children. And your initiative really jumps into that. And then also trains people that have gone through your program to become facilitators, so to speak. So that's one of the things that I really love about your program.
Yes, we do that. We have 3 of our 11 participants in our first cohort are going to interview to become a facilitator. And then once you become a facilitator, you need to be certified by the National Parent Leadership Institute. And maybe Kris can speak to what that experience was like.
We did our first training was online. And so we had to do 6 weeks of online training. And it was very impactful. I was excited to bring this to the community. But we were also able to do this in person in Columbus, Ohio. And I tell you, having it in person and actually going through the training and experiencing what our participants experience was very impactful, that we know what they feel. We went through the same emotions, and being a part of that whole experience, I think, just makes our skills at bringing this curriculum through to our people that much more powerful.
So, Robert, I want to add that this curriculum that we're bringing into the tribal nation is a civics curriculum. So we're taking a chance at bringing in this kind of curriculum to our people, and we weren't sure how it was going to be received. But maybe Lacy can talk about how this was received in the White Earth community.
Yes, Buju. So I applied for IPLI and did an interview, and I was selected to become part of the program as a parent leader in this initiative. And we got to learn about state, federal, tribal laws, how they differ, how they intertwine. We did a retreat on the first day, and we got to visualize how we were all interconnected. How we all lived in different communities, but we're all interconnected. And then there was one main like problem, so to speak, and that was that disconnect. That was something we all had in common, was that disconnect.
Cultural disconnect.
Yes. And this initiative, it's taught us how to use our voice, how to be resourceful, learn about civics, very empowering, communication. We did a little skit where we used nonverbal communication, and the other participant didn't know what was going on, and they were kind of just sitting there dumbfounded. But skills like that, very fun and empowering.
Hey, why don't we take a quick break here? Let's all relax now that we're on radio and we're kind of feeling it and grooving it, and talk about this initiative and talk about, what's missing in our culture and what colonization and boarding schools have done to us, and how we're fighting back. So I really appreciate this conversation. You're listening to Native Roots Radio presents Little Moments Count, a statewide collaborative focused on helping parents, caregivers learn about the importance of brain development in the first 3 years of life. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Jane Fonda, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot. Hey, Cudahy, this episode of Native Roots Radio is presented in partnership with Little Moments Count.
Yes, and Little Moments Count is a statewide collaborative focused on helping parents and caregivers learn about the importance of brain development in the first 3 years of life. Nearly 80% of brain growth happens in the first 1,000 days, and a small interaction like talking, playing, reading, and singing can really help create those pathways that help build your child's brain during the early stages of life. If you are just tuning in, you can get some more information by visiting littlemomentscount.org. They've got some really great programs and resources available for you there. Robert, we're really excited to be partnering with Little Moments Count.
Yeah, we are definitely. And our guest today is Beth, Kris, and Lacy. And when we broke away out of this commercial, we were kind of talking about Lacy's experience with kind of decolonizing her thinking and learning more about who we are and being able to help her little ones in knowing that. And just we have had such a gap with our own learning, whether it's colonization or definitely the boarding schools. And Lacy, if you don't mind, I'd like you to pick up where you left off there. It was really getting into some nuts and bolts of your training.
Yeah, so it was the cultural disconnect that we all identified. And so our goal was to create a project. And it was passion with a purpose. What we were passionate about, what we wanted to change in our community, how we wanted to help the children in our communities. And this Indigenous Parent Leadership Initiative, it brought culture, teachings, in a good way.
Yeah. How
Yeah.
does that make you feel? You're smiling right now, and how does that make you feel? Is it connecting the dots to a lot of things, or how does that make you feel?
It was very empowering to know that we were all on the same page. A bunch of powerful women in the same room, and one man. There was one
wow.
man.
Yes, welcome.
Yeah, I was just reading about this. There's a press release that came out from Indigenous Visioning about this program that you went through, and it says it was a 21-week program, and it talked about how this went in 2 phases. So there was a parent leadership and self-perception course, and then there was a 10-week study of how change occurs within these systems, including the government and tribal systems. But what I found was really interesting is the curriculum was designed in 4 sections, each from a season from the Ojibwe calendar. Could you talk a little bit about how it was learning in that respect?
Barb Faber saw this curriculum in action. She was invited to a conference. Forgive me, I don't remember where she went and how she saw this, but she saw the civics curriculum and thought, how can I bring this back to White Earth? And she was very proactive in bringing it to White Earth, wanting to also have it be viewed through the Ojibwe lens. So she partnered with Dr. Anton Troyer, and with guidance from elders in both the White Earth Nation and the Red Lake Nation, They came together and created the curriculum to accompany the National Parent Leadership Institute curriculum. And what was interesting about the twisting of the two curriculums together is that in the civics curriculum, we were always brought back to core assets and needs being identified in the White Earth community. So that's really how the curriculum is designed, is to, as a participant, you're looking at your own assets and needs. From there, you're able to look at your community and identify the assets and needs. Like Lacy said, it was all about building reconnection. There was a moment where we were all saying disconnect, and another participant, B. Wash, said, what if we changed it to reconnect?
Yeah.
And that became really the collective passion with purpose. And through their community projects, the umbrella is cultural reconnection, but they're all doing it in their own way. And it was as a pilot program, again, we were all wondering, how is this going to work? But it worked. Maybe Kris can elaborate on her views on how she watched the two cultures twist in a beautiful spiral. I'll give it that description.
It was an amazing web that they connected that way. I think my experience through that is, when we talk about the historical trauma and everything that we lost and the teachings that we lost, we came in not knowing a lot of the teachings, but being able to learn that while facilitating was amazing. And to see everybody's experiences and their teachings and how that connected with what our lesson was for that week, it just seemed to flow really well. I remember one lesson that I personally didn't know anything about, or thought I didn't know. And while we were doing that, we were actually making our own tobacco. We had gathered the willow and was making the kinnikinnick. And as I was stripping the willow, the memories came back. It's like, I've done this before. I remember doing this with my grandma. So having those experiences and watching our participants go through that was very meaningful and touching.
How did you become a facilitator, Kris? I think that's very interesting. And also, how flexible was the curriculum for you to be a facilitator? Was it pretty black and white, or were you able to ad lib like a jazz musician?
Not a jazz musician, so we weren't able to ad lib. It is pretty black and white because they have certain standards and guidelines that we do have to follow to make sure that our participants are getting the lessons. How I came about it is, I did see an application that they're looking for facilitators for this parent leadership program. And my passion has always been to uplift our parents, to have them find their voice, to speak out for their children and their communities. And when I saw this, it's just like, I need to do this. So for me, it's just everything lined up, and it's been a great experience.
Wow. And your A student, Lacy's here. And that's exciting. Lacy, how did Kris do? Did you feel, did you, I mean, how did it go, Lacy? I feel like Kris is really connecting with everybody here. Did she connect and really make it happen? How did that all feel?
Yes. Yeah, one word that comes to mind, very empowering. So honored and grateful that this is being brought to the surface.
I have a quick question for you, Lacy, if you don't mind. what's one thing from this leadership conference that you took home and you shared with your family, like immediately? You learned it and you were like, I gotta tell my kids, or I gotta do this. What was that big thing for you?
How to use our voice, being an advocate for our families. Yeah. Very emotional experience, because we became a big family, so I'm very grateful for that. Yeah, we have one big family now, and it's just going to keep growing. But
That's
yes, definitely to use your voice.
So I do want to mention that Lacy says it's going to keep growing. We also have an alumni program. So now that our 11 participants will be graduating on September 25th, y'all. September 25th at Shooting Star Casino is our big graduation ceremony. But we are implementing an alumni program to continue to support them with their community projects. Part of that being creating their own radio program.
Oh, wonderful.
Wow, that's exciting. Hey, let's talk a little bit more about this. You're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and we're partnering with Little Moments Count. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that, and also maybe talk about where the hair on your arm stood up. I know that's our ancestors talking to us. So we'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Winona LaDuke of Honor the Earth, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio. I'm Awake.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot. Hey, this episode of Native Roots Radio is presented in partnership with Little Moments Count. And wow, we're really excited to have these guests on, Ogama. I want to circle around here real quick, Beth, and talk about a few things before we talk about that groovy radio show. But I also want to talk about, how to become a class participant and bring that up again. And also, what's going on, what's up next. And then let's talk about some other stuff too. But I want to make sure that people that are listening in can participate in this in a couple different ways, it looks like, with our panel here.
So this free 21-week program is only being offered in the White Earth Nation right now. We are looking to expand. We run on grants, so it's always wonderful to have people like you to bring us on your show to help us find some fiscal partners that would like to see this brought to more tribal communities. But for right now, our first cohort ended, and our second cohort we hope to begin in November. Our class size is only limited to 15 participants, and they can apply at our website, which is www.indigenousvisioning.com. Click on the Indigenous Parent Leadership Initiative tab, and it'll bring you to an online application process for our White Earth tribal members. So, yeah.
Ogama's got her hand raised. I feel like I'm the facilitator now. Holy wow.
I just wanted to point out that this program was a huge collaboration. It was funded by a grant, but there were partners like the Minnesota Department of Health, Indigenous Visioning, and the National Parent Leadership Institute, Dr. Anton Truyer, and support from the Northwest Minnesota Foundation. And it took all of those organizations and people working together to bring this Indigenous Parent Leadership Initiative to the White Earth Nation. So it's really important, if you're listening to Beth, and this is something you want in your nation, your tribe, to get involved in. I'm a Red Lake member myself, and I'm interested in this. And how do we get this over to my tribe? Go to indigenousvisioning.com, reach out to Beth, and try to figure out a way for you to help to get this moved into other areas in Indian country. I mean, this is incredibly important for all nations throughout all of Turtle Island to have access to cultural curriculum like this. And it's possible to do, but we have to get together to do it.
We do.
Yeah, that's some good words. Awesome, Ogamon. That's a great little segue. Beth, talk a little bit about the alumni, and then let's get some final words from our other guests here. This is Beth and Lacy.
Sure. Let me tell you about the alumni program. So one of the main components of the Indigenous Parent Leadership Initiative is the participants select a community project. It's self-selected. They are selecting it after all the work that they've been doing with the self-perception, the identifying the assets and the needs of their community. So this is to help them practice their civic and cultural teachings. This is about being a parent leader. So the alumni program after graduation is around to help strengthen parents' leadership skills and the learning. We are going to continue. Their community project does not have to be done by graduation, but we want to see them actively moving it forward. The alumni program is going to support them in those projects. I'd like to give Lacy the opportunity to tell everyone about her project and how she selected what she's going to do, because it's quite fabulous.
Hey, Lacy. Lacy's on mute too. That's all right. You guys are practicing for your own radio show. I will that mute button off. It's still on. It's still on.
Oh, there we go.
Hey.
Practice. So my community project, it is called Healing Within the Family, Breaking the Cycle. And how I got to that was myself, I am in recovery. September 2nd, I hit my 7-year mark. Now with that, that healing journey didn't stop there. Didn't stop with just getting sober. I wanted to heal my family, to help with coping skills, de-escalation skills. And so what my vision is to create a nonprofit organization, Healing Within the Family, breaking the cycle. And it would incorporate cultural teachings, identity, living in those 4 directions, living in that balance, helping and advocating for families who have had involvement with ICW, involvement with substance use, that healing journey,
That's a good one, Lacy. And I'll tell you, I've been sober for 37 years, and we have a term that you have to give it away to keep it. And that's what I always think about this, Kris, is this whole program is set up for people to give it away to keep it. I think that's really, Kris, really exciting. That you bring back alumni and that you teach them the way. And what's your thought on that, Kris? And you're muted too. There you go.
Yeah. That's the most exciting part about this whole program is not only are we empowering our parents for their voice, but to see what their community projects are and how connected to the community they are, and they want to help. A lot of them have been in recovery, and I've always said that people in recovery are the strongest people that I know. And they are the ones that we should be looking for answers. What does our community need? How can we make it better? And those that have gone through the experience are the ones that know. So this is, like I said, is so amazing, and would love it to see in most communities. In fact, all of the communities. I think it's so beneficial to our parents to find that voice, because we've been quieted for so long.
Wow, those are beautiful words. That you have to give it away to keep it. That is to make this thing, Beth, bigger and bigger and growing slow and strong, like a mustard seed. I'm really excited for being a small part of this and listening to these great stories.
Well, we appreciate you so much for letting us come on and talk about it. It's important work, and we really want to celebrate our parent leaders.
So we got a few minutes left, Beth. Why don't we go around and let people just speak in the talking circle, which AA got from Native Americans. I just want to throw that out there. Bill Wilson did mention that in one of his talks one time, that AA groups per se speak in circles, and it's a talking circle, and that's a native way. So let's talk in a little talking circle here, and give a little time for Lacy before we let you guys go, and then we'll go to Kris, and then back to you, Beth. So any final words, what you want people to know about the program, or how you feel about the program, or how I feel emotions, and I feel it in a good way. So Lacy, let our people know. Excuse me.
Indigenous Parent Leadership Initiative. It gave me a voice. It taught me how to be a parent leader, how to step up and be an advocate. And I just wish every tribal nation would have that. I'm excited for the next cohort. Really excited for the next people to be involved.
Wow, that's beautiful. Kris, what are your wishes, and what do you want to say here in the last minute?
I am just so honored to be a part of this program. Again, like I said, I love to advocate for parents, for them to find their voice and to watch them through their journey, and to watch them grow and believe in themselves, and to say, I can do this. I can make a difference in my community is amazing. I was telling Beth that I feel like a parent, and these are my little kids graduating, and I'm so proud of them. And it's been a very exciting, emotional ride.
Wow. And last words, Beth. This has been an exciting, really emotional show to listen to tonight. What are your final words here before we say hi Juoni to you three?
Oh, well, the same sentiments that they shared. It has been an incredible journey. And again, we didn't know what was going to happen being a pilot program, but it couldn't have turned out more beautiful than the way it did. I am so honored to have been a coordinator and a facilitator for these amazing group of women. And I can't wait for the next cohort as well.
Let's give the website again one more time, and how we can get a hold of you. And always looking for grants and money. This is a good opportunity to hand out. So go ahead and www.indigenousvisions.com. And what else, Beth?
Indigenousvisioning.com. No S there. So we want to make sure that S isn't there. So indigenousvisioning.com, click on the Indigenous Parent Leadership Initiative tab, and it'll tell you all about the initiative. They can also find us on Facebook, Indigenous Parent Leadership Initiative. You will see all the goings on of the classes. They can also email me, Beth at indigenousvisioning.com. And I'll be happy to answer any questions that anybody has. And thank you so much, Robert, and Small Moments Count.
Thank Beth, Kris, and Lacy. Thank you so much for being on. And hey, I want to just say what a great show. I want to thank our partners. They were on tonight. And again, indigenousvisioning.com. We're still here. We are the seventh generation. Please free Leonard Peltier now. We'll be back tomorrow.
Thanks for listening to the Little Moments Count radio podcast in partnership with community radio stations throughout Minnesota. You can find the Little Moments Count radio podcast wherever you get your podcasts and at littlemomentscount.org/podcast.